What's up, folks? My name is Maddie Wills, and of course, we're back with a brand new episode of BeWell with Maddie Wills, brought to you by the very good people at MetroHealth, where each episode we talk to a different healthcare expert about a variety of things. And today we have the one and only Dr. Mary Dooley to talk to us about why it's okay to ask for help. And Dr. Dooley, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So today's topic is a very important one, and one that, I believe can be easily kind of overlooked. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of this episode, I like to allow for you guys to give, a little bit of background for our listeners and viewers about who you are, your journey into MetroHealth, and, why we're going to talk about what we're talking about today.
Absolutely. Love that. Thank you for the opportunity.
For sure.
So you said my name is Dr. Mary Dooley. I'm a pediatric psychologist here. I actually did my residency training here back in 2019, 2020. Came back for fellowship in 2022 and became faculty in 2024. I work in primarily primary care, but I also do outpatient services where I see people for ongoing care. And my specialty and expertise are teenagers, anyone with anger, aggression, behavior concerns, mood concerns, suicidality, substance use, all the fun stuff.
I have a house full of teenagers, so I know exactly how fun that can be. But perfect. So, just lets our people know that we didn't just pull you off the street. You're actually a real expert in your field. Right.
But also it just happened to be that I was good at what we do. So.
Absolutely. So you are the perfect candidate for today's episode. So without further ado, we'll kind of jump right into it. First question, why is mental health so important to someone's overall health and wellness?
Yeah, so mental health often gets siloed off away from physical health, overall health, things like that. But really, all of it is so connected and intertwined, right? We hear about the gut-brain connection, right? If we're not feeling so good, we might be a little cranky. We might be a little, we might notice some mood concerns if we haven't slept enough, right? So I think focusing on physical and mental health together is incredibly important. We want that whole body care where we're covering all of our bases.
Yeah, and in our journey, I don't know if this is year 3 or 4 since our partnership between Radio 1 and MetroHealth, but I've learned a lot about the connectiveness of the mental and actual physical well-being. It's a lot more in-depth than I would originally have thought years ago, but this is why I'm glad we get to talk, because I literally learn something every time I speak with one of you guys, and the idea is hopefully our viewers and listeners achieve the same thing.
Yeah, so, absolutely. I mean, mental health is how we communicate to each other.
Absolutely.
It's how we present to people. It's how we take in information, right? All of it is filtered through our brain that has biases. And so if we hear something, I think all of us have experienced the thing where someone says something and we hear it a certain way and they meant it a different way,
right,
and we all create our own stories around it. So the mental health is being able to look at those stories, look at that communication, and improve it, make it feel better, find our way to connect to people.
And it's funny you say that too, because when you say that, my first thought is reading a text message, right? Because you don't get a lot of context. Sometimes
you miss the tone.
Exactly.
Right?
Or social media comments or whatever. And this is obviously the world we live in today. So that's a nice connect the dots moment for myself. Why do you think is it so difficult for people to ask for help?
There are a lot of reasons, right? So some of the big reasons is that it can be scary to ask for help. It can be scary to talk about your feelings. We don't really live in a society that is open to talking about feelings. There's a lot of perceiving all of that as weakness, and that you need to be tough and you need to be strong, and to be tough and strong, you need to handle things on your own and, grin and bear it. But if we also think about historically, mental health and psychology has in the past been used to further oppress marginalized populations, right? So in the time of slavery, there was the diagnosis of drapetomania, which is when a enslaved person was trying to flee the plantation, they would say they had to be crazy because, of course, the plantation was a better life for them. And so something was wrong with them. If we look at housewives in the 50s, 60s, 70s, where they're just getting dosed with Valium so that they can be at home by themselves and get labeled with hysteria, right? So there's been centuries and generations of people who have been further and further oppressed by the psychology field. So with that, there are plenty of people who they may be having a problem, but they saw how grandma was treated. They see how the uncle was treated, and it's not safe. It feels not safe for a lot of people.
You know, in the research for this, when they brought up the slavery aspect, and then just in your answer, you speaking on women in the 50s and 60s, there's definitely, that was an eye-opening moment for myself, because we don't really think about, well, I'll speak for myself. I don't really think about what was going on 20, 30, 40 years ago as it pertains to how I feel today. But there's definitely a connectiveness to it. And it only makes sense. You can pass along, you know, X, Y, Z that are physical traits. Those mental traits can certainly be passed along too.
When we talk about like the biopsychosocial of someone's well-being and someone's health, right? And so there's the biological aspect, which is anything, the genetics that have been passed down, all of that. But then we also have the psychological and the social, our environments, the people who are around us, the things that have been passed down from them. And even just in terms of society, if you think about even right now, there's a lot of concerns about certain psychological diagnoses, people being put on lists, people being ostracized for different diagnoses that they have. And so it can be really scary to want to know answers of why am I the way that I am? Why is this happening the way that it is? And also that fear of like, if I say this out loud, what will happen?
Wow, that's pretty real, as we say in my neighborhood. What are the signs of someone who's having a mental health crisis, and how can we all better recognize those signs?
So it varies, right? For some people, it's really person to person, right? It's the same thing of if someone is feeling sick. You know, some people, they feel sick, they don't tell anybody, they sort of go through their day. They might have like dry eyes, or they might have a sore throat, but they, you know, they can do their thing. Some people are laid out on the couch. They cannot move. It's rough situation, right? Everyone reacts differently. So for some kids, what we know is what comes up a lot for kids with depression is that instead of presenting as sad, they'll present as irritable. So it's hard to say, oh, depression, you're sad. You have to be crying. You have to show that you're not feeling, you have to stay in bed all the time. There are a lot of people, and we've seen even just among celebrities, that there are a lot of people who are depressed and they are succeeding and they're doing these great, amazing things, and they're making everybody laugh, and they're teaching people about food, and they're doing all these things, but they're actually very sad. So I think one of the best things that we can do is really pay attention to ourselves and how our body feels, how we're feeling about a situation. Am I more touchy than usual? Am I frustrated more easily? Am I crying more? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling burnt out that I don't want to be doing anything? Right? And so really paying attention to what is going on in my body, and then as well as building community so that we can recognize what it looks like for other people, right? So I can see when I sit down with my friends, I can say, something's up, like something feels off. What's going on, you know? Because I want people to be able to open up about those things. But really it's paying attention. We get very much in our capitalist society that is focused on hustle, grind, keep going, push through, all of that. It can be hard to slow down and pause and check in with our body and check in with how we're feeling. But I think that's one of the best things that we can do is slow down, check in with ourselves, check in with our friends, check in with our community.
For sure. And one of the takeaways I have from that answer is, you know, I think about why I wanted to go on this journey on having these types of conversations. And a lot of it has to do with just my own family. So I'm a stepfather to teenagers. And obviously I have a wife, and everybody has their own way of dealing with things. And those aren't always easily recognizable, especially if you don't know exactly what to look for, right? So everybody's different. I definitely appreciate you saying that, but it's something that's stuck with me for years, honestly. And I think when people hear it and they actually realize that what they're looking at may not be, you know, it could either be a bigger deal or not as big of a deal as they think, but to ask questions and to just make yourself available for people that you think might be leaning on you and for that kind of help is important. And then the other thing that you said about, you know, how entertainers or people that can make you laugh, they could be dealing with stuff and they're good at it, a lot of them, but they still have their own kind of demons that they're fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they definitely can have a lot of demons and things
Yeah.
going on inside. And I think also it's more universal than that.
You know, if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, you're not alone. The behavioral health team at MetroHealth is here for you and offers evaluations and treatments in both inpatient and outpatient settings. You can call this number 216-778-4428 to book your appointment right now. And if you're experiencing a psychiatric emergency or have thoughts of suicide, call the mobile crisis team at 988. Text the crisis text line at 741-741 or go to the nearest emergency room immediately.